welcome to tonight's chat. Tonight we are chatting to the very lovely Emma. Can we see Emma there over at York Gin? How are you, Emma? Hello, lovely to see you.
Hello.
So, where do we start? How about there? Where did it all start?
It starts like all the places. It starts in the pub, doesn't it? It's like one of those things where you go, I'm drinking Edinburgh gin, I'm drinking Manchester gin. Where the hell's our gin? Like literally that question. It's like we live in the best city, the most hospitable city, the most, historical place in the bloody country. And it's like, where's our gin, frankly? And that's really where it started. And I had the idea with a friend, and then as it turned out, and I knew nothing about intellectual property at this point, tried to register the name York Gin because I thought, oh, that's a good idea, I'll do that. And then discovered that I could, one, I couldn't have it because I knew nothing about that. And two, there's somebody else who tried to register, and it turned out to be Pete and John Farrow, who was one of the original directors, and Paul Crossman, who are now my co-directors. And I know Paul because he owns a Swan in Bishopthorpe Road. If you get any Yorkies on, then know it well enough. And I phoned him because I know him as a sort of parent at the school and just an old mate. And I was like, are you trying to make a gin? And he's like, how do you know? And I was like, because the internet is an open field, Paul, and if you do something, everyone can find out. And we ended up chatting and saying, well, I mean, when we found out, we were completely aligned about what we wanted to do, which is, one, make a gin, because why didn't York have a gin, which is the key thing. Two, we wanted to do it on very same principles, really, that it needed to be fun, it needed to be sustainable, it needed to be done locally, it needed to be really high quality, because if we're going to use the name York, it absolutely has to reflect the city, because we are really proud of living here, and no one needed to lose the house, which was the key thing. It's one of those businesses we started, it's like, don't lose the house. So everyone put in what they could afford to lose, and that's how we started it, because it was key that we might lose a few holidays if it all failed, but we weren't going to lose the house. That was the rule, don't lose the house. So it explains why we started in a chicken shed, because we couldn't afford to buy a massive great place to put a huge great beautiful distillery, bespoke thing, £1 million job. We went, let's start what we can start and do the quality that we can do with the money that we can afford. So five families put in sort of amount that you might be able to lose, a significant but not kill you kind of amount of money. And that's where that's how we started. And we registered it in 2016, and we got our first bottles out 2018, 1st of March. And that's the kind of background to it. That's the initial story.
Wow, I didn't realize that was actually how it all came to to that. And what was your experience at that point, and the other people that were in the room?
So quite interesting, because it was a funny one, because so my background actually is I've got a human sciences degree, so I've got a sort of psychology, linguistics, genetics background, so I'm kind of sciencey, but quite a lot of marketing. So my background actually was at the time I was working for EE, which is obviously massive great telecoms thing, and Orange. So I've been brought up in the hardcore sense of branding. What you do, focus groups, research, what have you. And Paul, obviously, and Pete had the Swan and the Slip. So they had a lot of particularly local knowledge of the drinks industry, which I didn't have. I was a massive gin fiend. Like, I was known as Mrs. Gin years ago. I always had like 50, 60 bottles at home, like no exaggeration, just all the time, because I was just like them and would try lots of different ones. So I kind of knew a lot about the market and the gin, but I didn't know. But also, what I didn't really know is how to make it, and that was the last person, which was Harry, who's also our co-director. Who's a friend of Paul's, who's our director, who also has a good sort of proper engineering background, and he got our still designed and our sort of actual operations up and going. So it's a bit of a mix of things. You should have seen the design that they wanted originally for the bottle. Literally no research at all. They're just, I like the look of that. It's like, yeah, you're a bloke. Have you actually worked out who our target market is? It's not them, it's not you, actually. You like beer, and that's where you like the look of that bottle. And so it was, so it was useful having at least have a woman on the team, thank God.
Wow. So it was, how amazing is that though? You had enough people around that table in the pub to actually be able to do what needed doing.
I know. I mean, obviously some of it was more luck than judgment, if I'm honest. But you know, you start where you start, don't you? And you find out what did happen was a massive tragedy because John died in middle of 2017. And his wife had predeceased him, so it's a complete disaster. And John was our accountant as well as one of the co-directors. And he loved all the HMRC stuff, which was, you know, at least somebody did. I hated it, and it was a complete nightmare. And it was just like, John, you can't die, disaster, you know. So we've kept 1/5 of the business for his family because he and his wife have both died and they've got 5 kids. They're all older now, like, well, they're in their 20s at least, anyway, some of them. So they're part of our business still. And if and when we ever make enough money, it's 5th theirs. So that's quite a driving force just to make sure that we do it, because this is what they've got. They haven't got much else. So that's
wow.
So that's a bit of it where, you know, you treat people as you'd want to be treated, I hope. And so that's their thing. So we lost John. So what we did realize quite fast immediately was, like, we don't have an accountant. So number one, get an accountant, outsource that bit. We have to get that right. And we have to get the HMRC bit right. We can muck up the marketing. We can make other mistakes, but there's certain things you can't make mistakes. So you find your knowledge gaps and you invest.
Wow, that's quite a story. So is the team still, obviously the shop and things, which we'll go into in a bit, obviously that's expanded, but has the team grown then apart from that original team?
Yeah, exactly. Well, the original team was us lot, but it was me on my own in January to March 2018. I did everything. So no, I was the first person to stop any other job. And I did the first 3 months on my Todd. And made the first batch and did everything, you know, like absolutely everything. So that was crazy, but because we didn't even know. We thought, well, we can sell it to the Swan on the Slip. At least we've got 2 customers, you know, yay. And we thought it'll be fine. And we just honestly thought it'll be a nice thing that York needs. We had no idea it would blow up like it did quite as quickly as it did, which is great. But yes, it is the same core team. Still, we're the directors, and we've got 3 of us are all hands-on. So me and Pete and Paul, Harry are day-to-day all the time in the business. Paul is a sort of executive director because he's got the Swan and the Slip and the Vinny Arms as well. So he's got 3 pubs and a load of things. And we have, I think, the equivalent of about 16 full-time people, but it's more than that in actual people because we've got a bunch of 9 or 10 full-time staff, and then it's funny how you calculate people, but you've got at least 20 different people who work with us in events and in the shop and stuff. So, and it's growing and it's getting
quite big.
Yeah, it's funny now. It's getting to a stage where I need policies on HR and shit. It's like boring.
You've got to actually think about
literally. It's like I'm going to outsource that fast.
Yeah, I don't blame you on that. So you mentioned it went big and you didn't expect it going as big as it did. So what were your hopes and dreams then? You know, what did you think was going to happen?
Well, honestly, I thought it was a good idea. Like almost anybody you mentioned it to went, "Oh, I get it." You know, like when I said, "Oh, York needs a gin," they go, "Of course it does." You know, it's like, yay, obviously, duh. You know what I mean? It's like, and we weren't the only people to think of it because we actually discovered several other people registering names and things. It was like, oh, okay. But we were the first people to get our asses and do it. So that's something. Even though with my background in marketing, I suppose I was a bit naive. I mean, we had something like York Mix came round, a York Press came round, sort of got hold of them and they sort of showed them what we were doing and, you know, the sort of chaos that it was and, you know, try the gin and here's a testing and what have you. But I thought we'd have to go out to places to find it, and the phone didn't stop ringing and the emails didn't stop from the day we started. So any kind of planning for who was going to be our customers it's only just become in the last, well, obviously since the pandemic's thrown things out of water, but before that we rarely had to go out to find customers because the idea was sound.
Wow,
really.
That's quite something, really, isn't it? So you mentioned that there were some other gins at the time. How many gins have we got now in York then?
We've got none other in York City itself, so that's quite helpful. We are the only gin made in the city of York. There's a lot of Yorkshire gins though. There's no denying it, hundreds. Some of them are genuinely made in Yorkshire like us. Some of them have got labels slapped on them. So it depends how you count it really. There's lots of horses for courses. I mean, we could have bought something in and slapped a label on, but we were absolutely determined not to do that. If we wanted to call it York Gin, we felt it had to be made here and made properly and made a traditional way. And you know, some of the sort of boring things, like, well, the nice things for us, but like awards have proved that that's the right thing to do, because we can make and we can own the recipe, so we can really tweak it and make it the quality that it should be.
Yeah, that's cool. That is a good thing for it, definitely. I mean, I can't say that I don't love the stuff, because I do. It's gorgeous. It's very, very nice. Where did the cat come from?
Oh, the cat. We get a lot of questions about the cat in the shop. Well, the cat and gin has like a long and intertwined history. I suppose the core reason I put it on originally, because I designed the logo and the branding originally, was because of the cat trail. You know, the cats on the, I don't know if you know York, but if you go around on quite a lot of the buildings, you'll see cats sort of perching on things. And there's a little cat trail. You can go around, a bit like Leeds has got its owl, and other, you know, cities have their animal. So that's kind of the initial thinking. It's like, oh, the cat. And then as we discover more of the history of gin, that gins like the Old Tom almost always have a cat on them. And we don't really know why. It's lost in the midst of time why an Old Tom gin, apart from Tom Cat maybe, always has a cat on it. We also find that I was trying to find an 18th century, 17th century like woodcut thing. You can see our logo. It's like it's got a 17th century font and things, and it was like the sort of conceit of our gin was like it should have always been here. So we kind of just, you know, use the history of York to create the brand. And I was googling images of woodcut cats, so something you could have just made by a stamp, and found this picture and redrew the cat, and that's who he is. Eventually I was like, I don't like not knowing where things came from. So I was hunting around to like, where's this picture come from? And you can find it all over the place. But eventually I found the professor who knew, and she was in California of all places. And I said, your book, this picture appears in the book plate of your book. Can you tell me anything about it, particularly about this cat? And I showed her the logo that we've got and sort of told her this story. And she said, yes, I do know. And the cat is called Rutterkin. So he's actually got a name. And he was the familiar of a poor lady who was accused of witchcraft. Yes, called the what are they called? The Benningford Witches, Bollingford Witches, and they're on our website. I've got a picture over there I can show you if you want. And anyway, a long story. There's lots of things. These poor women, anyway, were accused of bewitching many things, including the Earl of York, which is rather marvellous. We're like, really? Amazing. Like Rutterkin wanted to come back, and you know, so there he is, proud, because I absolutely guarantee nothing good happened to that cat if he was pictured and had a name, and his owner was accused of witchcraft in the 17th century. Wasn't a good thing. So as a result, now we also one of our charities is the Cats Protection, so we look after them.
That is amazing. If people can't actually see it, because obviously I know about this, if you see on Emma's shirt, and it's also just on the top of the...
I'll take you around. I'll show you the original. I'll show you the print if you like. It's on our wall here. I'll show you.
That was cool.
So I'll show you what it looks like. So the Bottisford Witches. I don't know if you can see.
Oh yes,
that picture there. Is that square enough for you?
Yeah, we can see, and that's
you can see the cat at the foot of the lady on the first. Yeah, there she is. So it's a woodcut print, and if you look at Bottisford Witches, Bottisford, Bottesford, you'll spot that.
Wow. I mean, just seeing the shop like that, the shop looks like it's like a museum, isn't it? It's like the York Museums as well. The branding and everything just works so fantastic with
it's lovely. We're very lucky to be in here, to be honest. It's a bit like, are we allowed to be in here? It's so nice.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know,
we're in a grade 1 listed building. It's a bit again, we've just come up with, I mean, you know, like you think things are planned, but actually a lot of things are luck, and a lot of things are just talking to people, talking to everybody all the time about things, and then you'll find somebody knows somebody who knows somebody who goes, oh, I know what.
Yeah, it was empty quite a while before you went in, wasn't it? They did quite a lot of work on it, I seem to remember, because it was a charity shop for quite a while.
It was. It belongs to the Conservation Trust, which is marvellous because it's a charity.
Yeah.
Well, it's a trust, but it's a tricky building because it's so old and it's properly grade 1 listed that there's few things that you can do to it, but also it will be costing them a fortune. It needs sorting out. You may have sort of caught a glimpse of the ceiling when I was walking there. It's horrible. And there's awful things they've done. You know, they've had to patch things onto places. There's sort of strip lighting on Tudor beams all up behind and stuff. And it's, yeah. But it must get up. You can, if you've ever had a boiler replaced, you know, it costs thousands. So you can imagine, like, even changing 1 meter square of a grade 1 listed building will cost them millions to sort this out. And I have no idea how they're going to afford to do it. I'm glad I don't own it. It's a problem. It looks beautiful and we're really happy to be here. At some point we're going to have to move out though, so they can try and fix it.
But it is the perfect shop for your brand, isn't it? Without a doubt.
Really nicely. Yes, I have to be said. We'll be sad when we have to move out, but equally I'll be grateful for the beautiful shop to have a proper lease of life. It needs some love. There's so much stuff back there that nobody sees, and it should belong to the public. It really should. There's a medieval hall. It's stunning. There's 4 or 5 layers of stuff. It's just amazing building, but they can't let anyone in. There's holes in the floor, electrics everywhere, there's no toilets, you know. It's a tricky one,
but perfect. And I'm sure the next property will be just as beautiful and just fit just as well.
We'll do something exciting next.
I'm sure you will. So shop wise, obviously you've now, although you're York Gin, you sell your gin not just across the UK, but you're actually selling it worldwide, aren't you now?
We do have some international customers. We are genuinely though focused on making sure. The whole point was we want to be York's gin. So if you go into a bar or pub or restaurant in York and they ask for gin, we hope to be one of your choices. Do you know what I mean? We'd like to be. That was the aim. So we don't have like a world domination thing, or even really a county or national domination. We think we've got islands of places that really identify with York, and we'll focus on those. I don't want to get to a stage where I don't know who's working for us. You know, it's not for me. It's not for me, and I'm too old for all that now. Do you know what I mean? And I've worked in big places where you can walk past people and you don't know who they are, and it's not what I set the company up for. It's meant to be it's meant to be fun. And
so there's no plans for a shop somewhere else then?
Not really, no. I mean, people often want to, we get inquiries like, can we set up a York Gin shop and have your stuff? And we're like, well, maybe we'll think about that, but we wouldn't be doing it. It'd be somebody else's shops, you know, with our stuff as their primary stuff. But it's not, I don't want to be, no.
That's not what you're looking at.
No, it's not what we're about really. So
what is the long-term vision then? Are you where you want to be and you're just keeping that rolling, or are there other changes?
No, there's other things we'd like to do. I mean, we realise what we can't do at the minute with our distillery. I don't know if anyone's sort of seen it online or whatever. It is genuinely still the chicken sheds. We've now got 2, woo, but it's still a chicken shed, and it's not really suitable for visitors. And we get so many inquiries, and we do let people come and see the process and, you know, all that kind of thing, but it's not really suitable for visitors. So we want to be able to create a distillery that people can come to, have an experience, try making their own gin, really understand the process, you know, that kind of stuff, much more in an experiential thing, which we get a little bit in here as a shop, but it's still basically a shop. We can do tastings and stuff, but, you know, so that's our next stage really, is to make something that's and we're obviously, like anyone, like if anybody knows, we are looking for a venue, and it's tricky. It must be within the city boundaries, and there's various sort of things that it has to be able to do. So it's you know what York's like, it's quirky and problematic in terms of building, so it's a challenge.
Yeah, it wouldn't really necessarily sit right like on Clifton Moor or somewhere really.
No, and those are the kind of places that are available. Well, to be fair, that's where we are now. And so, you know, we're in Acastum Albis. It's cute though, at least when you drive to Acastum Albis, it's like a long country road and then you are a little place. But it's still not, people come and go, oh my God, you make all that gin in that? And it's like, yeah, we do. You know, the still's running constantly. We'd have to run it twice a day now because we're really, really busy. But yes, it's tiny, and we know we need bigger things. And if somebody comes on with a big contract, we're like, how are we going to do it? I don't know if we can do it. You know, so yeah. So our aim is, we will have pockets. So it's not never say never, Tracy, at all about where else we would be. And I wouldn't like say never to a place in Edinburgh or London or something as a representative of York. You know what I mean? It's like a pocket of a place that we do. But I can't see us, and it certainly wouldn't be, if it's still in my hands, I can't see us in Tesco, for example.
Yes.
It's not. I don't think the brand fits there. It takes away a little bit of. Doesn't mean that gins in Tesco aren't good. There's some great gins in Tesco. It just means the capacity, the sort of the manufacturing output that we'd have to do to get in there would be make everything very faceless, very fast. We'd have to totally change our business model in terms of our pricing. We wouldn't know who was who. Do Do you know what I mean? And I left EE. Do you know what I mean? I don't want any of that again. Not for me.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. The experience side of it though sounds really, really good.
Exactly. Do you know what? And we just love living here and showing off York and stuff. So that's the next bit. I think we've already proved that we can make world class, world beating, best in country, best in world gins. We really can, but we should be able to show off that process to people. So that's the next bit, to make it, you know, accessible to people and make it, you know, really fun.
Yeah, and obviously with our tourist trade that we have in York, that's giving you enough of a window as well to the rest of the country and the world, in that they'll come and buy it and then they can buy it online afterwards, can't they?
Exactly. So I mean, it's not an accident we chose York gin. I didn't call it Emma gin because this beautiful city sells it, obviously, and we get, you know, we looked at the footfall. You go, there's 10 million visitors a York a year. That's some of them might buy some gin. Yeah. You know, yeah. So, you know, it wasn't blind to the market that we went, this is a good idea.
Yeah. So you briefly mentioned the that pandemic thing that's sort of been going on and going. So how did that affect you? What and specifically from that, what have you changed since then, and is it going to keep changing? Is there anything that you've changed because of it?
Yeah, quite a few things. So the first thing that obviously fell away completely from us was obviously tourists and trade. So our biggest thing before the pandemic was shops, restaurants and bars, York ones particularly. And we had this tiny little online thing, it's like an also ran, where it's like, we'll do it just in case people want it. We'll just make sure it kind of works. We might sell a couple of bottles a week. And that turned into our only source of income. And so yes, so I do actually, luckily my background is that stuff, so I reshifted all my focus and my energy to making sure we had an online shop that was sang. So that went from nothing to a £250,000 business in a year.
Wow, amazing! And you had the time to do it because you had nothing else
to do. And then we did loads of online shows, and if anyone saw the Zoom things, and we did like online tastings, and we did online sort of just like fun get-togethers on a Friday, and everyone get their gin together, and we had quizzes and bits and bobs. Which also kept us a bit sane. It gave us something to do, which was quite nice. Do you know what I mean? And we created it because we found out loads about the history of gins and cocktails and, you know, the background of juniper and all sorts. It was great fun in some ways, yeah. And the distillery kept going, and, you know, so we didn't lose anybody, which was amazing. So we were grateful for the furlough scheme because the shop really had to close. Technically we didn't have to, because as an off license you are food, but I'm not lying, this is not an off license, this is a tourist attraction, this shop. Really.
Yeah, definitely. So any of that stuff that you did is new. Obviously the website's going to stay, and that's going to
website's going to stay. You know, we literally employed 2 people to deal with the website traffic now, which is great. So we have 2 extra employees who deal packing, delivering stuff that goes out, you know, all over the place. And some of our sort of unique-y type things, like the sort of engraved bottles and the personalized stuff, we get massive amount of traffic for, because no one does it.
I bet you do. And obviously it's going to keep going for a while, isn't it? Because we're still a bit, you know, not sure about going out, and we still
exactly. Yeah, I mean, I don't see it like growing like it did last year, because that was just like a freak world. But we totally intend to maintain it, and just sort of, you know, it's a viable business now. It's like on its own. It's like, it's weird. Yeah. So we didn't know anything, and I knew nothing about Google advertising. What a nightmare, honestly. Another thing to outsource to people, if younger, frankly, and Facebook marketing. Ugh. So yeah, again, another thing. Just get a grant, get somebody else to do it. It's great. It's just, you know, I thought I knew what I was doing.
No, not when you actually.
I can't be bothered, because the rules change every week, and I haven't got time to keep on top of it. Just like, nah.
Best way to do it is to get
somebody who knows what they're doing to do it.
Definitely.
All those things, you know. I know about gin. I don't know. Algorithm. No thanks.
None of that. How does it work then with having this distillery as it is now? If, you know, do you have people sort of like monitoring how much stuff you've got on the shelves and how much you can make, and, you know, and are you pretty much totally at capacity then now for what you're doing now?
Close. But we haven't. The biggest problem is space. So the biggest problem with something like our thing is not necessarily the manufacturer, even though that is obviously an element, is more the space of the number of bottles you've got to look after, and the cardboard, and the, you know what I mean, it's just the physical stuff, and the gin. So once you've made it, you need to keep it in something, and then it's, you know, it doubles in size when you add the water to it, and you're like, oh, that's huge, where are we going to put it? So it's more that, it's just storage. storage, fiddling around and paying the tax man. You know, at some point we were
What
laughing.
what about your newest product? Are you going to show us that? Where's that?
Well, our new bottles.
No, I meant the other small things that you do.
Oh, what, these jobs? These ones.
Yeah, look at that, in a can. So how do you get these made then?
Now these you do need to get somebody else in, because yes, you need a canning.
So I was going to say, you haven't taken on a second garden shed to put the canning department in, have you?
No, not yet. There's only about 3 or 4 places in the country that do it, and as we said, I was like, oh, let's outsource that. Yeah. So there they are. These are our cans. That's one sort.
Very nice.
They're nice, aren't they? And they're proper. They're 6.5%. Yeah, they're good.
I actually really like. I mean, I haven't had one of those yet. I will be having one come the 13th, but I've always liked the cans, because even though I think I can mix it right, at least with a can, you know it's going to be great.
You do. And well, to be fair, we tried quite a lot, because I always like a bit of research. Tried quite a lot of other people's. It's quite a mixed crew out there. Some of them are great. No, a few of them are great. A lot of them are rubbish, because there's a lot of sweeteners in them, and most of them haven't got enough booze in them. I mean, it's like booze, but you're drinking it for the alcohol. You know, go and get yourself a pop if you want something. You know, it's one or the other for me. It's like, stop having 3%. What's the point of that? You know?
We like your logic. We like your logic.
It's a bit daft, isn't it? It's like, it won't taste of anything. It'll get you slightly pissed if you drink 10 of them. They need to pee, and it's like, just have a proper one. Have it properly mixed.
I like.
Have one good one. You know, that's better.
And what at the minute is your favourite mix to put together with what thrown in it type thing? What's the most favourite thing at the minute, do you think?
For me personally, or for
you personally?
Me personally, well, I'm a menace now, because I've become more and more of a purist. Ooh. So I've got, the problem is, I kind of just like our gin so much that I just drink it neat, which is over ice usually, but still, or in a martini, like a nice martini shaken over. And if I want to have it long, I'll put a bit of soda in it, so it doesn't add any real flavour at all. Because, as I say, I've just become like, we've all just done and this is before this, but we've all just taken, my entire team, so the first bit of professional development we've done for everybody is put them on the WSET spirits course, which means they actually got a qualification to demonstrate that they understand distilling, they understand the drinks industry, they understand other spirits as well as gin, they understand whiskey and tequila and vodkas and, you know, rums and what have you. They understand all the processes and the grappas and the cognacs. So but when you do those things, you're just tasting them neat and smelling them neat, and you just kind of get right into that kind of, I can smell all this different stuff. Start shoving loads of, like, I don't know, fancy over flavored tonics in. You're like, you've killed it. It's like, I don't recommend it. I do recommend, honestly, keeping it as simple as possible.
I'll try that then. I can't say I've overly tried it neat.
You know what? If you can tell a good quality spirit of any sort, if you can drink it neat, it shouldn't hurt. If it's quality, if it's made with quality, it might give you a warming sensation, but it shouldn't cut.
But it shouldn't taste like felt tip pens. That's what you
said. You know what? That's one of the flavors. They put too many heads in. If they've done that, they're trying to maximize their profit at the cost of quality.
Whenever I say that, people say back to me, "How do you know what felt tip pens taste like?" And I'm like, "You just do."
Did you not go to primary school?
Yeah, you just do. You know what
everyone knows what felt tip pens are like.
Yeah, definitely. So I've got 2 more questions for you.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things within Empower that we talk about a lot is success on your own terms. You know, we don't like any of this grow to 6 figures in a month. This is how you do it. This is the blue. We don't like any of that. We like this thing around, you know, it should be on your terms. It should be if you want 6 figures, fine, but that should be on your terms, etc. And also success, obviously, for everybody looks very different. So if somebody said to you, you had to write down what success is to you, what would you say your success has been?
Well, it's funny, we do actually discuss this quite a lot and make sure that we're still on the same thing, because, you know, we do, because and the success for us always was make York proud of us. Make York proud of us. Nice. Do the right thing by where you are. Treat everybody, customers, employees, and the environment, most importantly, with respect. We are very, very, very aware of the climate emergency, and we know we are having an impact, and we're trying to work all the ways that we can lessen that, and then work out really gold standard ways where the last bits that you have to offset, because there's just no way not to be completely carbon neutral. But we have been in massive discussions. We want to be good. It sounds pathetic, doesn't it? It's like, but actually, you know, it's our planet. We've all got kids, or most of us have, and we're like, this is the emergency. So we are very, very aware that we're trying to do the right thing.
By customers, I bet it's hard sometimes.
Yeah, we're doing good. In terms of money wise, we kind of said we are big enough when the five families, so including John's family, have enough to live on, and that really is enough to live on, and that is well under 100 each. It's well under, you know what I mean, half that probably per family, that we would say actually that is enough to live on. Much more than that, you're not really adding much to, you know, it's like so once we got to that, that's enough, and we're close. I think we probably are there, really. And the other one really was to have fun.
Excellent. I love that. That's really good to hear. And the fact that you actually discuss it with everybody is even better.
Yeah, quite a lot, actually, just to make sure we, like, every decision we make, like, is this still going to fit? Is that going to fit these things? Because we could do, you know, you get offered all sorts of things all the time and different opportunities, and you're going, does that still fit? And do we still agree that's what we're trying to do? And does it still fit? Do you know what I mean? And we go, yeah, that's still we still agree that's that, and that's a no, and that's a yes, that's good. That's good.
And I can see why the plans that you've got for the distillery, that will be fun. Yeah. The families will all be getting involved. It'll be a growth that everybody can be involved in as well.
Yeah, I mean, we want to maximise the number of people employ locally and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? It's like share the love, you know, it's inward investment. It's really important. That's
really, really, really great to hear. And my one last question was, how often do you feel overwhelmed?
You mean per hour?
Just, you know.
I don't know. It comes in peaks and troughs, Tracy, doesn't it? Like 1 minute it's like, oh my God, I can't possibly deal with this. The next minute it's like, oh, it's all fine. No one died. It's fine. It's fine.
That's a really good, yeah, it's fine. No one died. It's fine.
It's fine. No one died. It's like, you know, there's some things that have happened which have been a bit health and safe. It's like, we need to improve that. And then otherwise, that's not good, not good. Otherwise, you know, if you go back to what we said, our successes were, it's like, no, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Mostly, and also because we've got a nice little tight-knit team that we can just rant, and the WhatsApp conversations are pretty much continuous. If someone's getting a bit kind of, it's like if somebody else will go, should we get a pub? we'll talk about it, chill out, it'll be, you know, we are just making gin, we're not, you know.
Yeah, we were talking about this the other day when we talked, and I'd said about how much are you back out there, are you going to the pub? And you said, well, to be honest, I've never really stopped going out when I could, because I have to, because it's my job.
exactly so yeah.
That's amazing. That's fantastic. Well, we could talk for hours. Thank you so much for tonight. It's been really brilliant talking to you. We're going to stop the recording now for those that are joining us here live. If anybody else has got any questions that are watching on catch up, do stick them in the comments, and you can tag Emma as well and she'll get back to you. But we hope you enjoyed listening to this chat this evening with Emma, and yes, we'll stop the recording now and go to a Q&A with the members that we've got here. Thank you so much for joining us, Emma.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. Take care.